This is the story of a man named Leon Harris. He was a quiet delivery driver in Chicago, a man who never got into trouble, who kept his head down and just did his job. He worked the night shift for a small, local delivery company, dropping off parcels for neighborhood stores and regular customers. His life was a simple rhythm of boxes, receipts, and long, silent drives through the dark, sleeping city streets. He was the kind of person you'd see every day but never really notice. But one night, the familiar rhythm of his life was shattered, and everything changed in an instant. Leon was just about to finish his shift, ready to head home and finally get some sleep. The clock was ticking past 11:30. But just as he was clocking out, his boss, Mr. Grady, called him back to the office. Grady was a man of few words, always a little stressed, always a little distant. He stood there, holding one last box. It was a plain, brown cardboard box, completely unremarkable. There was no label, no name, no address written on it, nothing. Grady handed the box to Leon. "Take this to 58th and Wabash," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Don't open it. Don't ask any questions. Just drop it off." Leon hesitated. This was completely against company policy. Every single delivery he'd ever made had a receipt, a tracking number, a clear destination. This felt wrong. The box felt strangely light in his hands. But Grady was the boss. You didn't argue with Mr. Grady, not if you wanted to keep your job. So, Leon just nodded, took the box, and walked out into the chilly night. It was almost midnight now. The streets of Chicago were practically empty, bathed in the orange glow of the streetlights. As Leon started his truck and pulled onto the main road, a strange feeling crept over him. A prickle of unease on the back of his neck. He glanced in his rearview mirror and noticed it for the first time, a sleek, black sedan, driving a few car lengths behind him. At first, he tried to dismiss it. It was just another car, another late-night driver. But then he made a right turn, and the car followed. He took a left, and it was still there. He sped up a little, and it matched his speed. He slowed down, and it slowed down too. The car was sticking to him like a shadow, its headlights to bright eyes in his mirror, watching his every move. His heart started to beat a little faster. He tried to tell himself he was being paranoid, but the feeling wouldn't go away. This wasn't a coincidence. He finally reached 58th Street and found the address. It wasn't a house or an apartment building. It was an old, dilapidated warehouse, its windows dark and boarded up. The entire block was deserted, wrapped in an eerie silence. Leon parked his delivery truck, switched off the engine, and took a deep breath. He grabbed the labeled box from the passenger seat, his hands feeling a little sweaty. As he stepped out of the truck, the cold night air hit him. And then, he heard the quiet crunch of tires on gravel. The black sedan had pulled up and parked across the street. Two men got out. They were tall figures, dressed in long, dark coats that seemed to swallow the dim light. Their faces were hidden in the shadows. One of them stepped forward and called out, his voice smooth but menacing, "You got something for us, driver?" Leon's throat went dry. He nodded, trying to keep his own voice steady. "Yeah, I've got a package for someone at this address." The man let out a short, humorless laugh. "That's us. Bring it here." Leon clutched the box tighter and started to walk towards them, his feet feeling like lead. He didn't even make it halfway across the street when another car appeared out of nowhere, turning the corner sharply. It was a police cruiser. The siren was silent, but its red and blue lights flashed wildly, painting the dark warehouse in striking colors. A voice boomed through a megaphone, "Police! Step away from the truck. Hands where I can see them." Leon froze, caught between the two men and the approaching police. For a split second, everything was still. Then chaos erupted. The two men in black coats didn't hesitate. They pulled out guns, and the night exploded with the deafening crack of gunfire. Bullets whizzed past Leon's head, ricocheting off the brick walls and shattering the windows of his truck. Pure instinct took over. He dropped to the ground, shielding his head with his arms, the box still clutched in his hands. The police returned fire, the sound of their shots echoing through the empty street. It was a war zone. Leon, the quiet delivery driver, was caught right in the middle of it. He scrambled on his hands and knees, crawling for the only cover he could find, the wheels of his own truck. His heart was pounding against his ribs so hard he thought it would break. In the chaos, the box he was holding fell from his grasp and tumbled onto the asphalt, its lid popping open. And inside, there was no bomb, no drugs, no money. There was just a small, black flash drive. A tiny piece of plastic with one single word written on it in white marker: evidence. The firefight was intense but brief. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably less than a minute, the gunfire stopped. The silence that followed was even more terrifying. Leon peeked out from behind the tire. The two men in black coats were gone. They had vanished into the night as quickly as they had appeared. The police swarmed the area, their guns still drawn, shouting commands. They surrounded Leon, who was still trembling on the ground. They started firing questions at him. Who are you? What's in the box? Who were those men? Leon was speechless, his mind reeling. All he could do was point to the open box and the small flash drive lying inside. One of the officers cautiously approached, picked it up, and looked at it. His expression changed instantly. He froze, his eyes wide. He quickly turned to his partner and whispered something Leon couldn't hear. Then, the officer looked back at Leon, his voice suddenly quiet, almost conspiratorial. You didn't see anything tonight. You hear me? Go home. Forget this ever happened. Leon didn't need to be told twice. He didn't ask questions. He just scrambled back into his bullet-riddled truck, started the engine, and drove away, not once looking back. He drove straight home, the flashing police lights fading in his mirror. The next morning, he went to work, his body aching, his mind still in a fog. But when he got there, something was wrong. Grady's office was completely empty. The desk was clear, the chair was pushed in, and there was no sign that anyone had ever worked there. The company's records were gone. Even the sign above the door of the delivery company had been taken down. The entire business had vanished overnight. Leon quit that same day. He never filled out a notice, he just walked away and never came back. He sold his truck and found a new job, one that kept him firmly in the daylight. He never drove at night again. But the memory of that night never left him. It's a ghost that follows him. Sometimes, when he's driving on the highway, he still finds himself instinctively checking his rearview mirror, his heart skipping a beat if a black car stays behind him for too long. Because Leon knows that somewhere out there, the people who were waiting for that package, the people who disappeared into the night, they know about him. They know that the quiet delivery driver who made one last and scheduled delivery saw something he was never, ever supposed to see. And they might just come back to make sure he stays quiet for good. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video.